Welcome to another episode of the Making of Champions Season 5. Today I have Stanford's very own Mr. Arthur Ignaczak from Stanford University, the Bay Area. This man is truly a man of wisdom when it comes down to the jumps, when it comes down to the multi-events. That's all jumps, horizontal, vertical. Coach Iggy, as everyone usually calls him, he is the man of all trades. Welcome you to the show.
I appreciate you having me. I'm obviously honored to be selected to be part of the show, and yeah, man, it's going to be a good time, and yeah, let's get to it.
Well, let's find out a little bit more about yourself. How did you get into this coaching realm?
Oof, dating way back when. I want to say that I kind of got bit by the coaching bug. I want to say it was probably my junior year in college. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a variety of different things, and then college happens, and then you're like, well, maybe I want to do this, maybe I want to do that. But my original plan was to be a gym teacher and then be a lifeguard in the summer, you know what I mean? Just live in a coast lifestyle. But then obviously, life takes its course and you start to find other interests and stuff like that. So when I was in college, I did end up getting hurt. So I was sidelined for a substantial period of time. And but I always loved being out at the track. I mean, the Oval Office, like that is a place that I can be out at all day and not have any types of issues. And then at the Mount St. Mary's University in Emmitsburg, Maryland, we had to walk across this long field, and then our track was kind of in this like bowl, so to speak. So we're standing there, or I'm standing at the top of this hill, just kind of overlooking the track, and I'm just like, just doesn't get any better than this, And then I see some of my teammates already at the meeting spot, just kind of doing their pre-practice stretching or just kind of hanging out. And then I just see my coaches, just smiles on their face, having a good time, and gym shorts, hoodies. I'm like, this is what they do for a living. Like, I think I want to do this. But again, just kind of being sidelined, I was still always at practice and just kind of listening to what the coaches are saying. And then, hey, what do you need me to do? Do you need me to set up hurdles? Hey, or if we're setting up hurdles, where do you want me to set them up at? Why? Or do you need me to catch steps or, what have you? Just, I was always kind of there. And then just really enjoyed being there. So I think it was, going into my junior year or throughout my junior year in college where I was like, you know what, I really want to pursue this coaching thing. And then the rest was history. I kind of just started to apply everywhere and anywhere and, start these connections and networks. And then, fast forward, over a decade later, here we are on this awesome show.
Well, you've done a great job in the coaching realm and how you really produced and help produce the student athletes that have excelled on the national level, conference level, national level. You said connections. Sometimes people don't understand. It has to do with some connections to get you to certain areas of in this profession. So how did those connections really work themselves out for you?
Yeah. Loaded question. And I guess my story is a little bit different than some. But so again, I'm from the Northeast, right? So I grew up in Jersey. Went to school in Maryland, went to grad school in Western Pennsylvania. So, like my network of people was just kind of in that corner. And then when I was at St. Francis University in Loretto, Pennsylvania, a coworker, mentor, roommate, he started to introduce me to new people and kind of really educated me and mentored me on like how to appropriately network, right? Or really just how to think about the sport in a different light and stuff like that. So, I mean, I tip my hat off to that man, Augustin Schmader. He's done really, really well by me. But yeah, so as I was, in the Northeast, that was pretty much my corner, right? And I knew a lot of people from just going to track meets, athletes, and this and that. But then when I was really doing the whole applying thing, I was applying to places near and far. Some were kind of, on the phone interview side. Some were, hey, come on campus, and then some were I paid my own way to get down to the convention in Orlando, Florida, and was kind of like, bumming hotel floor spaces off from people, like, hey coach, can I stay over here tonight, and then I'll be out, and just kind of but I remember my first time, or I guess it was my second convention. I did interview with the University of Central Arkansas down there at the convention in Orlando, and I've never met them. It was just it was there. And then I've seen them in passing before, because Coach Martin, if you know who Coach Martin is, he stands out. Q Dog, Omega Psi Phi, got gold chains everywhere, wearing purple. So I knew of who he was, but we never really engaged in conversation outside of, hey, how you doing? And until that one year at the convention where it was a formal interview. And then that kind of started to move fairly quickly. And by the end of the convention, they had offered me the position, and I accepted. And then, let's fast forward about 2 weeks later, I'm living in Conway, Arkansas. So here I am thinking, oh man, I'm in the South, never been to the state of Arkansas, in the Southland Conference. And now, all of this is going to be new, right? So coming to find out, I went to some track meets, and I was like, oh, I know this guy, or I know this coach, and I know this person. And then just really having conversations with people. And then, I always say, or there's the saying of, like, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I kind of like to flip it up a little bit more and say, it's not what you know, it's who you know, but really who knows you. But as I was making my trek to Central Arkansas, I told myself that I never really wanted to apply for a job ever again. I just wanted to do my job, do my part, do my work, and let the work speak for itself. And then hopefully phone calls, will come after that. I guess it allowed me to kind of be where I am today, because I was at Central Arkansas for 3.5 years. And then, I've met people along the way, whether it's at convention or track meets, and, you just make connections. And then, fast forward couple of years, you get a phone call from Eastern Michigan. Hey, we like what you're doing down there. Cool. The opportunity presented itself. It was appropriate. So, moved to Michigan. I go. Now I'm in a completely new conference, new region of the country. Right. And then kind of the same thing, right? You start meeting new people, new coaches, and obviously their webs are casted in different circles as well. So, we just start to kind of just, move around and such. And I don't think there was ever a place or an opportunity that was like, oh, I know this guy Iggy, so you should hire him. But if there's obviously positions that are being talked about, we're going to support the people that we know. You know what I mean? Right. So I don't think there was ever a moment where I was like, hey, Tyree, can you call this person for me because you know them, right? But it's just more so just these genuine conversations, and we look out for one another, because our when you really think about it, in the Division I level, there's only 300 something Division I schools.
Yeah.
And not all of them have men and women programs, right? Or indoor. Sometimes it's just cross country, outdoor. So like, as far as the amount of like positions that are actually available, it's not really that much. All right. So that was a long rant.
No, you're right on point. But then, some people, we don't realize that sometimes you have to make some moves in order to get to the place that you're trying to get to. And, where you came from the Northeast, then you went down south, and then you went back up to the
Midwest.
And then how all that transition to go out to California, and now you're back in, sunny, kind of cold every now and then, but sunny California, and doing your thing there. So some people they stop from making so many moves because they say, I want to settle here, and then they might be missing their blessing down the road just by, I don't want to travel as much, or I don't want to move to this region. But yet you didn't let that stop you of moving to different regions to get where you need to be.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of had this mindset of get as far away from Jersey as possible. Not for any reason in particular, but it was just, I wanted to go and explore as much as I could, and then let the career kind of allow me to do that, right? But yes, like we as coaches, especially up and coming coaches, I feel as if we have to be geographically flexible, especially in the starting out parts. There's some coaches that'll land a position and then never leave, which is fine. I'm gonna, Coach Martin from UCA is a prime example. That was his one and only job, and he was there for over 40 years. But he enjoyed it, and that was his thing. As a young coach, I always wanted to aspire to be in the the top of the top and rumble with the big dogs, right? That's just kind of my mentality, my mindset, my energy. And then I guess I kind of got here fairly quickly, in the Power Five realm. But then I've come to learn and recognize that, like, now that I'm in this Power Five world, like it's still all the same stuff. It's just that you're just dealing with heavier punches. The objective is still the same, right? Get as many people to nationals as possible, or put points up on a national board, and but when you really think about it, everyone's trying to do the same thing, right? And sure, maybe I'm at a place that is a little bit more attractive now to some of those top tier athletes, and maybe the resources are a little bit different, compared to other smaller programs, and which allow us to do what we're trying to do. But you could also still do it with limited resources as well. You just got to have that mindset, have that vision, and yeah, rock and roll.
Well, I've seen everywhere you've gone, you've developed student athletes there, and moving them throughout the things of being conference champions, going to regionals, nationals, and really competing at all levels, even in the pro circuit as well. So how do you attribute your success of finding those gems, one, and then also when now that you're at the Stanford, where that educational side is really up there, so you have to mix match with the academics and the athletic part. How does that come into play, or how did you learn to get that to that level there?
I think I always had a good eye for talent, just kind of finding the diamonds in the rough, if you will. Especially when I was in Arkansas, like there was definitely a lot of great talent out there, but you just had to go out and see it. I remember recruiting kids that didn't necessarily put the marks out there yet, but it's like, oof, like I saw that foul, and that foul was deep, right? And yeah, come hang out over here, right? Or again, I think I have a decent eye for talent. And then that's half the battle, right? It's identifying, and then the next piece is really to allow them to let me coach them. And then and I think the difference here, is the stressors are maybe a little bit different, right? From the academic piece and the athletic piece. I did find myself changing my philosophy around a little bit once I got to Stanford. And again, it was not that it was trial and error, but essentially kind of turned out to be that way, because I would run a program, and then I'd realize, like, man, like I'm finding myself modifying a specific week in a cycle too frequently. Something's happening here, right? And then it's like, oh, we're on a quarter system, right? So 10 weeks at a time, which means week 4, week 5, it's midterms already, right? And then come finals time, and you got zombies walking out onto the track, right? And I'm like, no, we got to hit it, so I've definitely learned to handle the different stressors or the different challenges from place to place. And you have to, right? Like there is no cookie cutter program. I mean, yes, we as coaches, we read, we talk and we study, but what I do and what you do may not be applicable for the environment. And yeah, we just gotta, figure it out and work around that. But hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah. But it's amazing what you said, that a lot of people try to keep their system the exact same. And then like if you're going from a semester system to a quarter system, it has to be some flexibility within your training mechanism, or how you're going about the approach. And sometimes people will fail because they don't want to make those changes because they're used to this right here. And you, just by listening to what you said, you were able to figure it out, within a couple 2 weeks or months of tweaking that in, understanding that the quarter system is a little different, and most people who are coming from a semester system are not used to adapting to that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. On top of that as well, being on a quarter system, I mean, we start very, very late. So, let's just say the first week of school would be that first week in October, right? Whereas at other places, kids are on campus in August, you know what I mean? And they're running their 8 hours of preseason, and we don't necessarily have that luxury. Our 8 hours is a little bit on a shorter period because we start so much later. But then again, when I first got here, I was like, oh crap, panic button, like I'm missing months of training. But again, if they do what they're supposed to do over the summer, and you can kind of program and write so that once they get onto campus, it's, they can be at a particular place physiologically, then you can kind of pick up and go. But yeah.
Well, you've had a lot of success. I remember a couple of years ago, and even with Allie Jones, working her way up, and I look at the stats and I see how the progression came throughout the years, and then going into her last year at Stanford, coming in fourth at the outdoor championships, and did you see the progressions of each of her disciplines within? I was like, man, he's doing it. And then just how do you been in with the academic prowess as Stanford is, how do you engage with the training philosophies and going through that and making that work within the academic restraints there?
I mean, the philosophies are the same I mentioned in the beginning, where what do we want to do, right? We want to be at the national championship, we want to score points, we want to do this and that. But we have to, the philosophy is to believe in that, right? Not just talk about it and hope for it, but actually we belong in these positions, right? We belong in these situations. So let's go ahead and plan accordingly to make so that when these situations do pop up, it's not, oh my gosh, I'm at the national championship and I'm so excited. No, this is what we're here to do. And so as far as that philosophy piece goes, we gotta keep the main thing, right? And then with the academic side of things, that's just more so me having to be a little bit more flexible. Like, for example, if there's an exam week, maybe I just shift the training around a little bit, right? I might have something written on paper that says this, but then once that week comes up, I might have to change this and that, right? And again, it's not going to be the end of the world. We have to be flexible as coaches, and we have to be flexible within our environment, right? Because if you're not, then problems happen. And then, yeah, I mean, using Allie Jones as an example, she definitely had a great progression, from when we started, but I can't take full credit to that. Coach Cooper, who's our sprint hurdles coach, he was just as involved in all of that as well. Our sports performance team, Coach Thomas Gesser, our athletic training team, it's not just me. Yeah, sure, I might be the the overall, like, hey, here's what we're doing on these days, but it's a community thing. It's not just, one person. So I admire and I appreciate you seeing those results, right, and in that progression. But I would feel as if I'd be doing a lot of other people a disservice if I were to take full claim on that.
I got you. I got you. Don't worry. Well, other things I've seen, I watch people on your Instagram and everything. So what I also know is, and even at the meets, that you're really engaged with your student athletes. You have a special bond with them. How do you build that bond and trust with them to, because you have fun at the same time, and you see those elements. And I think those are key or important things to have when you're going through the training regimen. How did you go about this to establish those personalities, or allowing your personality to really reach out to your student athletes?
Yeah, dang, another great question. And an observation. Yeah, I think especially where I'm at now, because the stresses are just so high, right? Here, everyone's just so tightly wound, and demand perfection and this and that. But sometimes we have to just deflate, all right? Like deflate and just take a breather and let's just, have fun, right? Like you said. But again, I think the main message, or keeping the main thing, right? Like, we still have a job to do. We still have, we still set out expectations, but I think for me, I always tell everybody, it's like, I'm going to give you 110% of me, and I'm going to give you my honest self. And then all I ask in return is for you to do the same. And I think that's where that chemistry really goes, is because I do give them my honest self. Yes, I'll be very, very serious at times, and then I could also be very, very goofy at times. And then a lot of us like to make moments much bigger than what they are. And that's where I think we do a really good job at, is trying to not let the moment overpower our ability to do something. So I think that's where the smirks or the jokes or like that, as a result, come at track meets, I'm not going to be you got to do this, you got to do that. Because that's just not going to gel well. So, yeah, just on it, giving me, or giving them my honest self, that in return, we got to recognize what buttons to press. Everyone has different triggers, right? And not everyone responds the same exact way, right? Like, yes, as a coach, I coach the long jump, but I coach individuals within the long jump, right? And then same thing with triple jump, high jump, pole vault, multis, all of it. You have to coach the individual in the event, not just the event itself. And I think once we do a good job of disengaging the event from the athlete and think athlete in the event, I think good things tend to happen there.
I've seen another thing this past year where you're a student of the sport, you're a teacher of the sport, but yet you don't want anything to go awry, to where someone might be cheating the sport in a sense. And I saw when the long jump came, and you went down there to the officials, and it's like, no, that was not the jump, and tell me what incited you to do something like that, because there's some coaches out there who wouldn't do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that moment. It was at the Pac-12 championships, and Alyssa had jumped really, really far. And I think that was the leading. I mean, she was in the lead anyway, but that mark was even farther. And then, yes, it was an honest foul. Yes, there would have been some people or some coaches that would have been like, yeah, we let one slide, or we got one, great. But that one was so blatantly obvious, and I just didn't feel right. And then, at the end of the day, we as coaches complain about a lot of things, right? But how often do we actually do something about it? And I think that was an opportunity to really set an example, not only for other coaches, not saying that the other coaches would have,
Right.
not done that or done it, but the like where that official was standing, he was not in the right place, right? Like, he was literally behind the board and couldn't see anything, like making just, illegitimate calls. And it wasn't just for my athlete, it was a couple other athletes as well. But I didn't want to let something so obvious just like get in the way. And I was, trying to flag him down, and then, I mean, yeah, you saw me jump the wall and went on to the other side of the track. But I just think, again, we do complain about a lot of things, or we see things, but then we don't really do anything about them.
Right.
There is poor officiating, right? There's cheating going on, right? There's all of these things happen, but no one ever does anything about it. So I don't know. I think that was a moment where, and I had a couple of coaches also like look at me. They're like, "You just gonna let that slide?" I was like, "Well, what am I supposed to do?" And I was like, "Well, what I can do is do what I did." And they still didn't reverse that call. And it was a windy jump also. So for record purposes, it wouldn't have counted anyway,
Right.
because it was above 2.0 wind. So it was kind of like, it was an exercise, I guess. But yeah, as the officiating is concerned, like, they're the officials that we're dealing with, they're getting older, and I mean, without officials, track meets don't happen. So, we have to, praise them and support them. But we also have to call it when we see it, and whatnot. So, for anyone that's listening, if y'all are done with your track and field career, think about officiating, still be around the sport. You can get some cool polos out of it, some Jimmy John sandwiches, and a couple of bucks, yeah.
They go to plug. Well, where do you see yourself, or where do you see your coaching prowess moving forward within the next 5 years? Is there something that you want to achieve?
Yeah, the ultimate goal would be to not only have an individual champion, like a national champion, but be part of a team that can do that. And this past season we did very well. We hold trophies in all three sports, in both men's and women's teams as well. So that's never been done at Stanford. We've had individual champions in each sport as well, which is never, so indoor, outdoor, and cross country. So, those things are really, really cool and exciting, but, not everyone can win a national championship. And just being part of a team that grinds hard and keeps their nose down, and then finally, ends up at the top at the end of it, would be really, really, fun to be a part of. And then, the Olympics are coming up. I always wanted to coach an Olympian, kind of from the ground up, if you will. And I think we got a good group of young student athletes that could potentially, find themselves in a position to potentially call themselves Olympians. So I think that would be a really, really cool and unique experience, and accolade, if you will. I also do aspire to be one of those like Team USA national coaches. I've put my name in that hat a couple of times, and I think over the last couple of years, I've proven my ability to potentially be in that role. So, but we'll see how it all falls.
Okay.
But yeah, again, I don't think there's like a specific thing that I want to do in the next 5, but records are always fun to be broken, but it's more about the journey and the process, right? And then yes, if we can hold a national championship trophy, that's freaking awesome. I mean, you got however many behind you right now. But yeah.
you know Well, being in a stressor of this sport, where everything is about performance, and then also understanding we enrich people's lives that we come in contact with. How do you, outside of the track and field, how do you find time to kind of lay back, or to get away from the sport itself?
I'll be honest and say that's been kind of going in waves for me. There's a period of my early career where it did not turn off. And not that it was a bad thing, but I was just young, hungry, and it just did not turn off. But then I started to realize that I'm missing certain opportunities or experiences, right? Like personally, where I'm like, dang, like maybe I do need to hit the pause button, because sometimes if you're going like you're exhausted, right? But since I've been out here, obviously I'm getting older now as well. I'm thinking long term. I've been in a relationship for a very long time, and I can't say enough thank yous for my significant other for being extremely patient with me. But I know it's not been hard, and or that it has been hard and it's not been easy. But as we get older, your thoughts and focuses start to shift and change a little bit. We hear, as when we were younger, we always heard people say those things. We're like, yeah, that's not gonna. And all of a sudden, you're like, crap, like it really is real. It's true. But recently, actually, like this morning, when I first got out here to California, I did a lot of hiking, right? I mean, there's gorgeous, mountains and hills and beaches around. So I'm an outdoors person. I love to be outdoors. So when I first got out here, I was hitting the trails pretty frequently. Then over COVID, I picked up cycling. So I started to hit the pavement and ride the bike a lot, and that was really good. Then the world kind of came back to normal, and then here we are, grind. And then you start to realize, like, man, I'm missing out on this, and this. All right, let's take a step back, right? And then, like, this morning I went for a nice, little bit over 5 mile hike up in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and it's just a good refresher, and yeah, but no, it is very, very important to unplug. And you can use, unplug in a variety of ways, like literally from social media or from the phone, or just, don't think about track for a moment, right? Or don't think about this workout or this week or this scheme or what have you, and just, enjoy the moment that is presented in front of you. Because before you know it, it might be too late. So.
Okay. Good stuff right there. I think a lot of people need to hear that you can unplug, unwind, take a little pause in there, and then you can still come back and resume everything you need to do, and still get in the time frame that you need to get it done in. So I know I said about the academics, or helping the student athletes progress through the athletes, but then also holistically, what are you looking at towards with your student athletes of helping them make the transition, one for education, and then also into the program itself to perform at the high levels in order to win these championships?
Another heavy one, but a gold one. I mean, honestly, it's just the daily dialogue. It is just the daily dialogue, and instilling that belief. So, prime example, this past week, the crosswind, like at pole vault practice, it just seems to, like, especially last year, whenever we had pole vault practice, it was always a crosswind, and obviously vaulting in a crosswind is never fun for anybody. But this past week, the winds were in our favor, and there's kind of a little bit of a tailwind, so the session ran a little bit more smoothly than normal, right? But G Baby was out here like, oh, I got a tip. Like, he jumped really well. He had a phenomenal practice. I think he jumped 540 off of 6 lefts, right? So that was a big moment for him. And then he was like, yeah, man, I had the tailwind and this and that. Like, I got these new spikes. and I lost it. And I was like, stop giving credit to the exterior things. Like, it's not the shoes, it's not the tailwind, it's not the track, right? It's you. Believe in you. Damn it, because just stop giving credit to everywhere else. But it's those messages. It's just those seeds. Also at practice, I do like to challenge a lot. We'll do competitive practices. One game that we always play is called Move the Shoe. So like if we're bounding for distance, right? Let's just say it's 5 bound or 10 bound. Everyone has their own shoe, and like I'll mark where they land, and then your job is to move the shoe, move it farther. So it's just having these conversations of always pushing and putting your best foot forward, so that when those moments at track meets present themselves, it's not foreign, right? We know that everyone, on this, at this place is very, type A and very ambitious and this and that. So you don't have to necessarily like try and pry that. You just have to sometimes redirect the focus, so that they can be what they can be. So I tell people, it's like, hey, right now I have a group of 14, right? And I was like, hey, what I see 14 All-Americans right here. Now there might be only one or two of you that actually reach that out, but I see 14 All-Americans, and okay, Alyssa, she had a phenomenal year last year, and a lot of the kids, looked up to her athletic ability. Cool American junior record indoor outdoor, but guess what? She never won. She did not win national championships, right? Like, yes, outdoors we lost it by I think 2 centimeters,
Yes, yeah.
On the last jump, right? But those are like, a part of me is like, I'm not that I'm glad that happened, but it's like, yo, this is real life. This happens. No matter how good you are, someone's always going to be coming for you. And then let's fast forward to USA's, right? Like Alyssa got 4th, by literally 1 or 2 centimeters. Like, she did not make the world team by that much. And is she more deserving than anybody else? Like, obviously my answer would be like, yeah, she deserves to be on that team. But at the same time, life is going to come with the haymakers sometimes, and you just got to take the punches and learn from it. So again, I think it's just that daily dialogue that we have out on the track every day. It's not just the one-off thing. Like, we have to be consistent on a daily basis, right? Not just come track meet time. So yeah, again, I don't know if that answers the question, but
Oh, you did a perfect job. Perfect job. Everything is about information to give out to the masses here. Everybody's going to take something and spin it their way. Everything is about just taking whatever you can give them and how they can use it in a positive manner. Let's roll with it. So I want to thank you for being a part of the show, and I want to give you an opportunity to give out any shout outs or anything, or even just any words of advice for coaches coming out there as they strive to get to that making of champions, championship individuals, championship programs. Anything that you would like to share with the audience?
Yeah, for those that are listening and are aspiring to reach whatever level or whatever accolades, just trust the process, trust yourself, trust your support group, your core group of mentors and whatnot. It's not going to happen overnight. I can guarantee that it's not going to happen overnight, but legacies take time, and just to be patient with that process. You will fail, and I hope that you learn from that failure, and not treat failure any bigger than just it being a moment, an experience. And yeah, just keep grinding, and surround yourself with people that are going to challenge you, push you, and make you better. I always say you're the average of the 5 people you spend time with most. So if you're spending time with a bunch of people that are, I don't know, out partying and not really caring and this and that, then you're probably in that category, right? But if you're sitting and hanging out with people that are, you know, constantly challenging you and questioning, you know, the next this and that, you're probably going to be thinking a little bit differently there. So, so yeah, to the viewers, listeners, that's my little word of advice. And as far as shout outs go, honestly, shout out to everybody that wakes up every morning with a purpose. And you know, sometimes people just go through motions, but you know, if you really want to do something and make something of yourself, it takes a conscious decision to be that. So shout out to all those people pursuing their greatness.
Well, you heard it here on the Making of Champions Season 5. Coach Iggy dropping a lot of gems here, a lot of knowledge. Hopefully you take everything in, apply those things that he gave us today, and go strive to be the best you can be. You know, again, there's going to be failures here and there, or roadblocks, but it's how you persevere through those things and get to the point of where you're trying to develop people to get to these trophies, to get those champions. And then again, everybody's a champion in their own right. So you never know what people are PRs. Those are obstacles or things that you ascertain to get to. So helping those individuals get better in all aspects of life, on the track, off the track, that you're making a difference in everybody's life out here. So I want to thank you, Iggy, for being a part of the show. And for all you, like, subscribe, and share. But be able to see this man. When you see him out there, he's a very personable person. So just come out there and make sure you grab his attention and listen to some more gems he might share with you out there on the track. Take care now. Peace.
Appreciate y'all.